Hello, Buckeye fans. It's Patrick Murphy and Dave Biddle here from Bucknuts and 24/7 Sports. You may notice we are not at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, where we normally are for these videos right after press conferences. There was lacrosse practice happening on the field, and we just figured, all right, we'll head home. We'll do the same thing. We'll just do it from the comfort of our own homes. And I'm still wearing a hat inside because I wore the hat outside, and my hair is all messy. So, Dave, we got our first conversation ahead of the national championship game with Jim Knowles, with Chip Kelly. It felt to me, let me know what you think, pretty loose. Those guys are cracking some jokes and they seem, not, I don't mean this in a negative way, but they seem loose.
For sure. Not cocky, giving Notre Dame all their respect, at least saying all the right things. Who knows what they're saying behind closed doors, although I do think they respect this Notre Dame team a lot, particularly this Notre Dame defense. This is a banged-up Notre Dame team, as we know. I wonder what Jim Knowles really thinks about Notre Dame's offense. I think it's going to be really tough sledding for that offense to move the ball against this Ohio State defense. That being said, Riley Leonard is a gamer of gamers. Jeremiah Love is a gamer of gamers and explosive. I wonder how explosive he's going to be with that bum knee, but he was questionable to play against Penn State. He gutted it out. I got a lot of respect for this, the toughness of this Notre Dame team, and Marcus Freeman. I've always liked Marcus Freeman. Back when I was calling him at his parents' house when I covered recruiting way back in the day when I first got on the beat. I had been on the beat this is how old I am. I'd actually been on the beat a couple years before I was calling Marcus Freeman's freshman year was 05. So I was calling him like 03, 04. So yeah, pretty much right after I got on the beat, I was calling Marcus Freeman when he was a high school kid. I'm old if you can't tell. But they did seem very loose, Patrick, but not cocky, not like we got this wrapped up type of thing. I liked what we saw just about, an hour ago. It was a really good press conference.
Yeah, I certainly didn't take any cockiness out of there. I think there was even pushback about some of the, do you feel like you've got some things figured out? And, Jim Knowles, who, as you mentioned, the defensive side of things, that's where you should be pretty confident, right? With the way this defense is played and Notre Dame's offensive limitations to some degree, not to say that they can't move the ball. They've gotten here with that offense, but Jim Knowles was like, we haven't figured anything out. We've got a lot of work to do. And I think that that's important for this game. We've seen it in the past, right? Ohio State was the prime example of being the underdogs that were able to overcome the heavy favorite in Miami in 2002. And then the reverse was the case in 2006 when Ohio State was on we're the undefeated team and things like that. And, Ohio State can't have a situation where they walk into Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Monday night thinking this game's already won. And I don't think that's the case at all.
No, they, but what? It's funny. Like I talk about that. I'm a psychoanalyst. I can tell you about the mindset of this team. I remember the week of the Michigan game saying, oh, I like the mindset of this team. They're confident, but they're not like, cocky. They're angry. And then they laid a complete egg against Michigan. So, it's really hard to get in the minds of these guys. But generally speaking, I thought the attitude of Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles was really on point today. And Jim Knowles is both of them are very fun to interview. Jim Knowles is he's such a unique cat. He's so cool, just very like calm and like you ask him a question. You can see the wheels turning and he's like, gives you a thoughtful answer. Unless you ask him to describe like how he's deploying Caleb Downs in the defense. Is he kind of like a hybrid Mike? How would you describe Caleb Downs' role? And he goes, I'm not going to get into that.
He wasn't giving you anything.
That was funny. What's that?
He wasn't giving you anything there.
No, he didn't. And usually he gives answers. He's like, I'm not going to give any tactical, things that what we're doing. But that's what they're doing. They're using, and not every play, but they're using Caleb Downs as like a hybrid Mike. He's playing some rover. He's playing some regular free safety. He's just moved everything. He's kind of unlocked everything. Cody Simon's turned into a badass. I wish there was more questions about Cody Simon, but hey, man, I can believe we're here. But it's thrilling. All the time we talk about Ohio State football, all this about going on Ohio State football. Man, we're 6 days away from a national championship game and the first year of the 12-team playoff. It's crazy if Ohio State wins the first iteration of the 4-team playoff, and then 10 years later they win the first 12-team playoff. It's storybook stuff, and they're one win away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they weren't the first BCS national champions. Also, that would really, really do it. One of the questions, and I forget who asked it, but of Jim Knowles, was about through his coaching career and kind of his journey, none of his stops before this were even national championship caliber. I mean, Oklahoma State is probably the closest. So getting to coach in a game like this is a big deal for Jim Knowles. He's really worked his way up, and not to say Chip Kelly hasn't, obviously starting at New Hampshire, but he's coached at a big time program like Oregon. He coached in the NFL. UCLA at times in history has been good. Not that they were good under him, but I have to think for Jim Knowles, he gave the answer of he doesn't think about that. That's something he'll reflect on when he's old and retired. But this still has to be a pretty cool moment for him, I would think. And even if he won't admit it, maybe it's for his family or, the people close to him to look at what he's gone through and building this defensive scheme that he has. All right, now you're doing it at Ohio State. Okay, 3-4 years in, whatever it is. Now you're doing it at Ohio State for the national championship. And it may be the defense that has to win this game.
And we're going to look back on it, if they do win, and if the offense plays really well and the defense plays really well and they beat Notre Dame, we're going to look back on it and say that was a really hell of a good Ohio State offense. We're going to talk about Jeremiah Smith. We're going to talk about how they had the injuries on the offensive line. They were able to overcome that. The two-headed monster at running back, the job of Will Howard, who, statistically is going to go down as one of the best seasons in Ohio State history. Does it help playing in a Ryan Day offense and a Chip Kelly offense? Yes, it does. And then, your number 2 receivers, Emeka Egbuka, your number 3 receivers, Carnell Tate. So we're going to be like, man, that was a hell of a good national championship offense. We're also going to say in the same breath, the defense was clearly the linchpin of that team. The defense was clearly the best part of that team. That's why this team has – they're on the precipice of being special, because we're not going to say, the Michigan game is just crazy. But even the Oregon loss, 1 point on the road against Oregon in a crazy raucous environment, I mean, that's almost a blip on the radar. But the way they're playing now, we're going to look back on this defense as one of the best defenses in Ohio State history. And I don't say that lightly. Right up there with 2002, where every starter on that 2002 defense was an NFL draft pick. And most of them were first, second, third rounders. Like Donnie Nicky was a 5th rounder. He was the one that was taken latest. There were no 6th rounders, no 7th rounders. So every starter on that defense was drafted. And then they had a freshman named AJ Hawk who played a decent amount. He was drafted. Will Allen came off the bench. Will Allen ended up being a 3rd round pick. He came back another year. So my point is, man, this team is just so much fun to watch right now, including the offense. But this defense is what makes them go. And it's why I think Notre Dame's in big trouble. Notre Dame, even if both teams were at full strength, I would like Ohio State. I wouldn't be over the top confident, but I would be confident Ohio State would win this game. Both teams at full strength. Banged up Notre Dame, who already struggles throwing the ball, Patrick. I'm sure you've seen this. Their leading receiver has 39 receptions. They have nobody on their team that has 40 receptions on the season. Carnell Tate has 50. Okay, so Ohio State's 3rd leading receiver is 50. They have nobody with 40. So they already kind of struggle to throw the ball. They can run the ball well. Riley Leonard, Jeremiah Love, much respect to those guys. But, man, good luck moving the ball against this Ohio State defense if you're healthy. Your O-line's banged up, your quarterback's banged up, and your running back's banged up. This is why I think Ohio State's going to take care of business and then some 6 days from now. It's fun to say 6 days from now.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're here already. Before we flip over to the offensive side, the Denzel Burke situation, as we talked about on What We Learned Live after the game when you had me on with some of the other guys, didn't play in the second half. Ryan Day said on Sunday that he was dealing with a minor injury, but should be good to go. Jim Knowles said similar things today. What is your read on this situation?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts here. If I had to bet, if you told me I know 100% you're going to get the truth, I would bet that he was benched. Now, could both things be true? Could he be nursing a minor ailment where if he didn't miss the tackle, he wouldn't have gotten benched? Probably. Maybe that's the most likely scenario. He is dealing with something minor, but missing that tackle in the way he did, the helicopter miss where you're just, the definition of an arm tackle, it's almost embarrassing when you get helicoptered like that. When you're trying to arm tackle somebody, it's one thing if you get helicopter, if you're going and you get your legs chopped out. Okay, that's going to happen. But I think he got benched. But I will say this, and I said this on Bucknuts. Take Ryan Day at his word that it was not performance related and he was banged up and they just wanted to, be cautious. And Jermaine Matthews is a really good player too. So it wasn't like he had to go to we got to go to this walk-on who sucks. Like we can just put Jermaine Matthews in. So if he is banged up, that kind of makes that easier. So let's say you just take it at face value that, it was not performance related, even though he misses the tackle, then never plays in the game again. Okay. Let's say it was injury. And then let's say Ryan Day. Okay. I would take him. Let's say you take him at face value of that. Let's say you don't take him at face value. And Ryan Day was on Sunday fibbing to us a little bit and saying it wasn't performance related. It was because of an injury. You know what? I'm 100% on board with that. I don't need Ryan Day throwing Denzel Burke under the bus for one missed tackle. And he's already been through a lot this year and they're going to need him. And so I think he was benched, might be dealing with something minor. And I think Ryan Day did the right thing as a head coach. He didn't need to air his dirty laundry. He didn't need to throw Denzel Burke under the bus. Ryan Day is not Mick Cronin. Okay. He's not going to throw his guys under the bus. Mick Cronin throws his guys under bullet trains. But yeah, man, that's where I come down. I'm really curious where you come down on it. Oh, and one more thing. Here's what puts it over the top for me. And this involves you 100%. You guys have a good rapport. You did that thing with him for CBS. CBS proper, by the way. Very cool that Patrick was able to do that at Big Ten Media Days. Him and Denzel have a good rapport. And Denzel's not a guy that's going to let a lot of reporters in. But him and Patrick have a good rapport. You went up to him after the game and said, now correct me if I'm wrong, hey, can I get a couple quick questions? He said, I'm not talking. As an athlete, if you are hurt, you'd probably say, I'm banged up. You wouldn't want people to think you got benched. So you'd make it clear. So I think he probably got benched, but what do you think?
Well, I will clarify. I did not go up to him. Dan Hope from 11 Warriors told me in the locker room, Denzel said he wasn't going to talk. So I don't actually know what that conversation was. I did go up to him. As you mentioned, I like Denzel a lot. But I did go up to him and just say hey man, congrats on making the national championship, just because he's the guy who said natty or bust, right? That was his quote.
Yes.
Originally. So just kind of, he's looking at his phone. I just kind of tapped him on the shoulder, said congrats. I didn't push the issue with him. We only get 20 minutes in the locker room and there's a lot going on. So if a guy's not going to talk, I'm not going to stand there and argue with him. And Dan,
we're going to try and challenge him to a fight or anything. Denzel, let's go right now. Toe to toe, buddy.
What I will say is I do think it's probably a combination of both things being true. Like you kind of said, I imagine he came in with something and they were like, let's see how you do. He goes through warmups, whatever it may be. Remember, Ohio State didn't put an availability report out before that game. We didn't see anybody miss the game, but I think it's because one of the teams in the quarterfinals didn't put one out. And so I think Ohio State realized, oh, we don't have to do this. Why would we do that then? It gives an advantage, even a slight advantage. So maybe if there had been an availability report, maybe Denzel Burke would have been a questionable designation. And then he goes out, and I don't think he really struggled in that first half, just from I haven't watched the entire game back yet. I've watched bits and pieces. But yeah, certainly that tackle. And then you add in the Jermaine Matthews factor of it's, as you said, it's not like you're just throwing the next guy in there and hoping for the best. This is a guy who's going to be a star next year, has already blossomed pretty well. So look, it sucks for Denzel, assuming we're correct here. It sucks for Denzel, but we've heard all year, selfless team, guys wanting to do what it takes to win. And if he's dealing with something that, makes him maybe less than 100% or even less than Jermaine Matthews would be if he's on the field, I think you got to make that call. We've talked a lot in the past about, name the position, where fans have been like, why isn't so-and-so getting in the game? Even Jermaine Matthews at points this year in the Oregon game. And so I think it was probably the right call if we're reading this right. And hopefully he's better and you can continue that rotation. Cause I do think that 3-man rotation at corner that they've had with Davis and Igbinosun as well, these last handful of games has worked really well. And everybody's gotten to contribute. And look, I think Jermaine played pretty well, pass interference in the end zone aside. And maybe that plays even a good one because it prevents a touchdown. So, it's a good problem to have if you're Ohio State, to have 3 guys, maybe even more, given some of the guys they still have that we haven't seen much of in that cornerback room. Dave, I want to touch on the offensive side before we wrap this up. Couple things that caught my ear. Austin Sareveld was dealing with something which is why Luke Montgomery played every snap at left guard. Now, Austin Saraville did play some at right guard, but not nearly as much as we've seen. Chip Kelly was pretty complimentary of the way Luke Montgomery played. I thought, just watching it with the naked eye, I didn't notice a ton of issues from him, so good to see there. You mentioned Notre Dame's banged up offensive line. Ohio State has overcome a lot. You probably want a healthy Austin Saraville, though, or as healthy as he could be, I would think, right?
Yeah, and I love the gaps in between these games for Ohio State. I mean, and Notre Dame, too. I mean, Notre Dame even gets an extra day off because, like, there's not enough days off where you get rusty. But you get a few more days than you normally would, like, during the regular season. It's almost like you get, like, instead of just 1 week off, you get, like, a week and a half. You know, it's like – and it's been pretty consistent. Like, Rose Bowl, they got – like 2 days off, and then, they got 2 extra days off. This time they're getting 3 extra days off. So that helps, and Saraville, the fact that he could play in the game and the fact that he's so tough and the fact that this is the last game of the year and the fact that it's the national championship game, I have no doubt that he'll be available. But, how effective will he be? But it's nice that they're able to have those 3 guards are able to rotate in there. And Luke Montgomery, we talk about Carson Hinsman. You needed an APB for him, and he's just doing yeoman's work. He's get the snaps a little bit more on point, but overall, Carson Hinsman stepping in for the Remington Award winner. Yeah. Kudos to him. We're like, where was he at? And then Luke Montgomery was even more lost in the woods, and he comes out like, I'll just start every game at left guard in the national semifinals against a pretty goddamn good defensive line. And it's like nothing happened. I don't know. I mean, kudos to Justin Fry, who we've all been high. I mean, we haven't been hard on him as a developing, because what he did with Josh Simmons, we all talked that up. And it wasn't like Seth McLaughlin was coming here as the favorite to win the Remington. Yeah. We know he can develop, but man, this is a different level. So good on Justin Fry, good on Tim Drevno, who is a quality control guy, a support staff guy who helps out with that. Good on Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, everybody who's helping out, because, man, it's really fun to see what this offensive line's able to do.
Yeah, and last thing, I am of this opinion, and it sounds like the offensive coaching staff is, but Notre Dame probably isn't going to do what Texas did in terms of that zone defense and some cover 3. They play 1 deep safety. They play man. You go back and look at what they did against Ohio State before. That's what Notre Dame's defense is with Marcus Freeman, Al Golden. Your expectations based on what you heard from Chip Kelly today, what you've seen from Notre Dame, because look, you can still double Jeremiah Smith in man, right? I mean, it honestly probably makes it a little bit easier, but I still think that Texas's success limiting Ohio State's offense was because of that interesting zone scheme, not so much of anything else, obviously the penalties and whatnot. But I'm not sure Notre Dame can do some of that stuff. They're really good at what they do, but man defense has been something Ohio State has been able to exploit this year.
Yeah, and if you're like a primarily man defense team, you can add, and they've played some zone, obviously, but you can add some more zone and you can play less man. But you can't have like a sea change going into the national. When you've done the same thing for 15 games and you're going to make a massive change going into game 16, that's not anything Al Golden's going to do. But what I think they will do, Patrick, is like they'll mix in a little bit more zone, maybe, and some concepts Ohio State hasn't seen, because Al Golden, heck of a defensive coordinator. Like, he's done some things this year, so exotic. Like, they'll play like man defense on – he's done this a lot, but they'll play man defense, for example, like on one half of the field, zone on the other half, and then maybe after the snap, like mix it. They know how to be exotic. So yes, they're primarily a man team, but they have played zone, and I think they will play more zone than they usually do in this game. But we will see mostly man. And other than Texas just deciding that, okay, Jeremiah Smith's not beating us, okay, well, then that means that Emeka, Carnell, and G. Scott are going to have like awesome games. Pick your poison. And Travion's going to get a 75-yard touchdown. So it's like, yeah, I mean, and I think Texas is a very talented Notre Dame defense. I think Texas is more talented, though. So I do expect more zone from Notre Dame than what they've played this year. But, man, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, well, and you can do things like, matchup zone, which has some man concepts in it and things like that, too. So, yeah, I mean, no one's going to tip their hand. We won't know until the game kicks off and Notre Dame's defense takes the field. But, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you change everything just because Texas had some success with it. And again, those penalties are what really derailed Ohio State's offense, right? Like, you don't expect Ohio State to have some of those dumb penalties again that kill things. All right, Dave, we got to get back to work. Thank everybody for tuning in. We're sorry you don't get the nice Woody Hayes backdrop here, but we'll be back there tomorrow. Hopefully we will be back on the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Who do we have tomorrow? Players and Ryan Day, is that right?
Yeah, and it's early, man. A little late morning action, 11 a.m. Ryan Day, and how many players we getting? Like at least five?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And it's spread out over like an hour and a half. So, so Ryan Day and 5 of the elite players tomorrow. So keep it locked to Bucknuts for all of that and more.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Dave. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks to all of you.